Hi everyone. This is what happened to me when I got government housing part 108. So now that I've told you about the final hearing, I wanted to tell you, just continue telling you my story because even though the respondent moved out, and even though I had been through all the court hearings, including the final court hearing at which my application for compensation was refused, of course, I still kept going. And I had to keep going because I was still alive. And that may have been inconvenient for some people, but I was still living and I was still wanting to find some way of remedying what happened to me. I gave up on the courts because of what I saw and because of the way I was treated, but I didn't give up on myself. And I didn't give up on the idea that I would be able to be compensated by someone somehow. And, obviously, if I was compensated, I'd be in the Gold Coast. And this is a picture of me not in the Gold Coast because that's actually me at a beach in Victoria. So, and it's not like I go there and I pretend that I'm at the Gold Coast because it's completely different. It's freezing. Even when you go to the beach in summer in Melbourne, it's still cold. Anyway, when I was at the compensation hearing, I discovered that one of the police who had attended my home about a report had actually badmouthed me in an official police report, which they call a LEAP report. So I wanted to know what other things the police had been saying about me. So I wrote to the Freedom of Information Division at the Victoria Police and I requested that all LEAP records related to me were provided to me. I wrote to them on the 8th of the 5th, 2018, and I didn't get a reply until the 17th of the 9th, 2018. And the envelope that the document was sent to me in was actually open and unsealed when I took it out of my letterbox. It didn't look like it had been torn open. It looked like it had been never sealed in the first place, which was a huge breach of my privacy. But obviously, it was probably intended that way. When I got this document, it was just a series of dates with like all the triple O calls that I had made over the last 20 years ago or so, and there were some details that I didn't recognize. I don't know why it took 4 months for them to reply to me, and I didn't really understand the contents of the document that I received anyway. It just seemed really shady, and I didn't want to follow it up with them because of that. I'll just take a drink. Now, then on the 9th of the 5th, 2018, I emailed the State Minister for Police to make a complaint against the officer who had badmouthed me in the LEAP report. And I think that after everything that happened and the fact that I had literally asked everyone and every department I knew of to assist me and they had all refused or failed in one way or another, my complaint to an MP was warranted. Then on the 10th of the 5th, 2018, I sent a letter of complaint to the Compensation Court to complain about the fact that I had not been provided with the LEAP document in which the police officer was badmouthing me. I believe I should have been provided with all the evidence related to my case, but I wasn't provided with any at all. And I wasn't given the document that was used against me in court. And that document was used at my compensation hearing to try to discredit me. Obviously, the fact that a police officer was bad mouthing me, that was a huge put down. And that was the sort of pompous and, exclusive attitude that I faced from all levels of the justice system, whether it was from the frontline police all the way up to people who worked in the courthouse. So anyway, I know that I should have been given a copy of that document before I attended court, but I wasn't. And the fact that the respondent's lawyer failed to provide me with the evidence that he used against me is one of the reasons why I believe he is unethical. And I guess it is also one of the reasons why I wasn't awarded compensation. Clearly, I was being set up to fail, and some of the people who worked in the Melbourne Magistrates Court were prepared to sit there and watch it happen. Because as I've said before, when the respondent's lawyer asked the judge to order me to provide their side with the evidence, there was no one ever prompted me to do the same, and there was no recognition or acknowledgement that it was a normal course of justice for me to get equal access to evidence as well. On or just before the 11th of the 5th, 2018, there was a storm, and the side fence between my backyard and the backyard of the unit next door fell down. This gave the residents of the unit next door and anyone that they knew easy access to my yard and to my unit. I knew the next door neighbours were friends of the respondent, so I was scared that he would be able to access my unit, and once again, I was scared of leaving my unit. By the 14th of the 5th, 2018, I rang Consumer Affairs to tell them that I had notified the Department of Housing about the fence and they didn't repair it. Consumer Affairs told me to ring VCAT, and VCAT told me to send the Department of Housing a breach notice, which I did. And this was all more work and more research and more administrative duties that I had to do on my own and that I had to pay for on my own because repairs weren't done. On the 15th of the 5th, 2018, I posted forms to Consumer Affairs asking for an inspector to attend my home so I could get a report on repairs that I needed to get done. There was a brick in my letterbox, the clothesline had been down since the back fence was repaired, and the locks on my doors still hadn't been repaired. I posted these forms to Consumer Affairs by normal mail because I couldn't afford to send them by express post. On the 18th of the 5th, 2018, I rang the Legal Services Commissioner to make a complaint against the respondent's lawyer. I think that person's conduct was outrageous and my complaint was definitely warranted. I hoped that I never saw that person again, but I got the impression that if I did, I wouldn't be able to recognise them anyway, because I suspected that the respondent's lawyer was transgender. Obviously, some lawyers are transgender, and that would normally not have any impact on me. However, I wanted to raise that as an issue because it would make this lawyer hard to identify if they were, I guess, not just using that to change their gender permanently, but using that as a disguise. That's what I was trying to get at. So when the respondent's lawyer was in court, they presented themselves as a male. However, it is possible that they are a female to male transgender. And if they were, this would mean that I may be unfortunate enough to be duped into speaking to them, which is something that I fear. I've had a few instances in my life of people using that tactic or transgenderism as a disguise, and I think it's very unfair on those of us who don't use that tactic to, to maybe approach or harass or spy on or taunt, our enemies. Also, on that same day, I got a call from an inspector from Consumer Affairs who said that he would attend my unit to do a report on the repairs that I had written to them about. Also, I emailed That's Life magazine telling them about my story and telling them that I wanted to appear in their magazine, but I never got a reply from them. I emailed that magazine because they pay people cash for their stories, and obviously, after going to court and not getting reimbursed for my expenses and not getting compensated for what happened to me, I thought it would be a good idea to try to recover some of the money that I had lost by telling my story to a magazine. Unfortunately, no one ever replied, so I never got to tell my story. But back then, I didn't know that I would end up telling my story on social media.